What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back in with a new video, and today it is time that we discuss the 2024 U.S. Senate election in the great state of Utah, and why conservatives in the state of Utah must unite to primary out loser Republican Mitt Romney. Yep, we're going to be focusing a lot on getting rid of Mitt Romney, arguably the most useless, worst senator in the Republican delegation. I mean, can we be real here? I understand that Utah is quickly shifting to, I guess you could say, a socially liberal Republican Party, but still, there are a lot of conservatives in the state of Utah. And the fact that we have somebody like Mitt Romney being the senator, when you got Mike Lee, it's a scam. I mean, this isn't like Maine, where, Susan Collins is a Biden plus 15 state. This is freaking Utah. Still one of the more Republican states in the country. And the fact that we have to deal with Mitt Romney when Mike Lee proves, you could be conservative enough in the state, it's absolutely bizarre. Now, before we continue with today's video, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the Twitter accounts in the description down below. Guys, go follow Real American Politics on Twitter. It is a great Twitter account everyone should follow. Of course, follow the Rumble page down below for exclusive content. And of course, join the channel today. Guys, just for $3 a month, you can join Real American, which is a phenomenal deal, as it helps support the daily content we all know and love. You love the daily content? Well, this is the best way to support it. So I hope and recommend you join the channel today. Also, at 8 p.m. Eastern Time tonight, we will be doing a live reaction to the Donald Trump remarks after the arraignment today. Yep, at 8 p.m. Eastern, we will be going live. Of course, the link to the live stream in the top right corner. Click it. You get sent to the stream page. Click the notification button. Share with your friends. Like the stream. So the second the stream starts, you get notified. Hope everyone tunes in. All right, everybody. So this is arguably, of the 2024 states, of the non-competitive seats, this is going to be the most critical primary for conservatives. Abso-freaking-lutely. Because not only is this, non-competitive, but there is a serious opportunity to get a significant upgrade in the state. Now, let me be clear. There is a possibility of some other Republicans getting in the race. Jason Chavez, he's a fairly solid congressman from a couple years ago. Brad Wilson, the Speaker of the Utah House, which I don't know enough about him. But there's one candidate in particular that I think is the best option for Republicans as of now. Trent Stakes. He was a mayor of Rivington and a nominee for mayor of Salt Lake County in 2020. He, in my opinion, of all the candidates we got, as of now, is our best option to take out Mitt Romney. Now, before we get into why Stakes is the best option, we have to explain the system they got in Utah. Because they kind of have a convention system, but it's one of the weakest and most pathetic of convention systems possible. So in 2018, Mitt Romney was the nominee. Wow, what a shocker. But here's the fascinating part. The convention, Mike Kennedy, the other candidate, he got the majority of the convention vote. Yeah, he got 50.88% of the vote. But guess what? Here's the thing. They still did a primary. Because in the state of Utah, you need, I think, 60% of the convention vote to get the nomination, which is freaking stupid. That is absolutely the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And you go down here, Mitt Romney won. He got 71% of the vote. But Mike Kennedy, who, fairly conservative enough on the issues, I mean, he had people in the Tea Party movement backing him, which, again, I know the Tea Party movement's not the most relevant anymore, but still, he was able to take out Mitt Romney at the convention, which conventions have always been, most of the time, better for picking Republicans, because usually it's not as divisive. You usually get a very solid candidate either way, most of the time. But either way, the system in Utah, the convention is very conservative. I mean, Mitt Romney, he lost despite being a big name. And I know he grifted over from Massachusetts, but still. Now, in 2022, similar thing. Mike Lee, a fairly solid Republican senator, he got 70% of the convention vote, which gave him the quote-unquote nomination. But they still did a primary, because the convention system is full of itself. You could still get on the ballot if, and you get enough signatures. Which, why? What type of system is that? And Mike Lee, he only got 62% of the vote in the regular primary. So these conventions, they tend to be more conservative. So hopefully, and this is the big hope for us, hopefully this Trent Staggs guy, which we'll get to in a second, he gets a vast, 2/3 majority of the delegates or the convention, which basically gives him the nomination, unless they force through a primary, which could happen. But this Becky Edwards, I'm going to make a video on her in the future. She's running for the House. You think Nancy Mace is a liberal Republican? You haven't seen anything yet. And look at this. She got 30%. She's pro-choice. She's pro-war in Ukraine. I mean, it's so bad. She makes Nancy Mace of South Carolina look like a Paul Gosar. I'm not even kidding. She's pro-amnesty. She's pro-open borders. Everything. She's a liberal running as a Republican. And you notice, she did better in the regular primary than in the convention. Because conventions tend to be a bit more conservative. They tend to have smarter, flat out smarter people picking the candidates. Usually. Usually they have pretty good people picking the candidates, like Virginia. In 2021, they picked a great delegation. They picked a great everything. And similar deal across the board in states that do conventions most of the time. So Republicans, they should adapt the convention system everywhere, not the Utah system. That's a scam. But who is this Trent Staggs guy? He's a former mayor, and he's very well liked. So what's his issues page? First thing is taxes, of course. When the federal income tax was first created in 1913, it exempted what would now be the first $91,000 of income and capped out a top marginal rate of 7% for what would be incomes greater than $15 million today, which is true. But, I don't know why this is your first thing on the website, but I understand this is Utah we're talking about. It's not necessarily the frickin' Wyomings of the world. It's a little different today. Our income is taxed, our purchases are taxed, our property is taxed, our investments are taxed, and when we die, our children's inheritance is taxed, which is a valid point. If you want to talk about crap the tax code is, this part. I mean, we're going to tax for everything. What's next? Get taxed for breathing? The federal government has grown so much that it now requires more than 25% of the average American's income. We have lost sight of the freedoms our founders envisioned. The tax levels that led to the revolution were a fraction of what we are now paying. So, yeah, first thing, not the biggest fan of running on taxes. I do understand that this is Utah, but either way, Staggs, hopefully, let's look at this. In 1980, the national debt was just $1 trillion. With the out-of-control spending of recent years, it is now incomprehensible to $32 trillion, or some 140% of our GDP. We're now the largest debtor nation and one of the top 12 nations with the highest debt ratio. Meanwhile, as Washington has been reckless with our money, they are boxing us into more regulations than we should have to endure. Federal agencies now number the hundreds, with millions of rules and regulations being imposed on us by unelected bureaucracies. This overregulation costs employers between $10,000 to $20,000 per employee to come into compliance with and drags down our economy almost $2 trillion. So, this part I'm fine with a bit more. Because the issue with just running on taxes, it's like, yeah, it's popular, but nobody wants to hear 24/7. Here, though, many people agree our spending's out of absurd control. I mean, $20,000 per employee for regulation? There is serious problems with that front. So I'm fine with this. When candidates run on spending and stuff, that's a bit different than running on generic taxes. One of the greatest assets Western states have are natural resources. But how can we thrive when distant bureaucrats control more of our states than we do? The answer is return to federalism, where the central government works for states rather than the other way around. While privileged northeastern states all own 99% of their land, western states are much less fortunate. We can clearly see how oppressive the federal government has become with land ownership. The feds own about 40% of Wyoming and Arizona, more than 60% of Utah and Idaho, and a shocking 80% of Nevada. This is actually something a bit different. I knew that the government controlled a lot of land out west. I didn't know it was 80% in Nevada. Now, does he mean, like the national parks and stuff? Leave those alone. Don't do this crap of, we gotta get rid of the national parks, which I don't think he's talking about. I think he's talking about the fact that Nevada is 80% owned by the government. So, I actually like this idea of running on something that's unique to Utah. That's actually a very unique thing to say, hey, a lot of this land shouldn't be owned by the federal government. It should go back to the states. Which, again, I like when candidates bring something different. Education. Our educational system has been corrupted, with more and more of children's education coming from Washington bureaucrats and well-funded teachers' unions. The federal government has no business being involved in education. It only accounts for 7.8% of the state education budget in Utah, but tells us 100% what to teach. More money is not the solution. The federal government has almost $175 billion in budgeted for education in this fiscal year. Despite this, outcomes have consistently gotten worse, with the cost of higher education is averaging more than twice the rate of inflation. We need greater accountability for schools, options for parents, and results for students. For reform to be meaningful, parents must have real options to meet their child's unique needs. Furthermore, we must end the cancer of wokeness that has infiltrated so much of our schools. As senator, my battle plan will always be the educator's work for parents and children, not the other way around. That's actually good. I mean, I think the federal government still should have some oversight to make sure states aren't teaching kids about pedophilia. But outside of that, this is good. This is saying, look, spending more isn't going to solve the education problem. Reforming the system and, kicking it back to the states, let states create their own plans to a lesser extent, with some oversight, would be a far better system. But also, I like the fact that he's focused on accountability, which I think Republicans, they're not focusing enough on when you come to education. Because yes, school choice is great and we need results for students, but more people are getting worried about what the hell is happening in our schools where kids are getting taught about, pedophilia. It's like there needs to be accountability to that. So far, Stakes is actually having a solid platform. I mean, this is far more than 90% of Republicans would ever give. So I'll give it to him. Thanks to the insanity of the defund the police movement, widespread acceptance of rioting and corrupt Soros district attorneys, crime is running amok on American streets. The homicide rate alone increased by 30% in 2020. Although the soft on crime philosophy is couched in terms of racial justice, we know that Democrats' defund the police movement has hurt racial minorities the most. As crime has increased, so has the desire for Americans to defend themselves. The only thing that's gone up more than crime is gun ownership. Given Americans' clear desire to protect themselves, I reject the idea that the Second Amendment is out of date. Every dictator who has seized power from a free society has first seized their weapons. The people who want to take our guns are the same people responsible for our crime wave. As senator, I will fight for your ability to defend yourself and your family. Outside of this part, which is true, but it's kind of, sounding like Democrats are the real racists. I don't think he's saying that. This is pretty good. Tying Democrats who want to take away your guns to the ones that, they're just letting clowns out in the street. These thugs, I should say. Clowns, they're the same thing. But either way, I like when Republicans tie Democrats to these thugs. Like, oh, you cannot have the right to bear arms, but we're going to allow people that killed 15 people last week just roam the streets again. That is really smart on Stegg's part. And I wish more Republicans would do it, because the Second Amendment is popular. And people are kind of frustrated that, wait, who? They want to do what to guns while these people are on our streets, beating up old people just for being white? What do you mean we can't have guns? So, I like that part by Steggs. Woken state, oh boy. In just 20 years, the importance of patriotism to Americans have dropped from 70% to 38%. Sorry about that. I actually muted for a second. And the value of religion dropped from 62% to... Excuse me, I had to sneeze for a second. I'm very sorry about that. From 62 to 39%. Community involvement has sunk from 62 to 27% in just 4 years. The cause of this cultural damage is a new religion called wokeness. Wokeness has infiltrated almost every aspect of our daily life, fermenting hostility and anger under the false flag of tolerance. While many companies who subscribe to ESG guidelines get woke and go broke, wokeness now has the force of law under the corrupt Biden administration. Wokeness is a false religion with no business in our government. It must be ripped out wherever it shows its ugly head. As senator, I will be woke's worst enemy. So I don't like he used the word woke 50 times, but I gotta say, I don't think I've ever seen a Republican bring this up. The fact that patriotism has dropped in half just in 20 years, but also we talk about religion and community involvement. This is the first Republican I've ever seen talk about these three things. Like, yes, wokeness is bad, but tell people why. Why is it bad? Because of this. Patriotism is collapsing. Community involvement is going away. Because guess what? You're at risk of getting shot or being called racist for, being in a black area. It's a scam of being a white guy in a black area. Suddenly you're a racist for trying to get involved in this community. You're invading their privacy and nonsense like that. It's like nobody wants to get involved in the community anymore because of racism and nonsense like that. So I like that somebody's brought up what's the consequences of this woke stuff? This. Stronger economy, immigration. Oh boy. Every country enforces border security and travel of non-citizens. However, this has become the defining controversy of our time. Americans have been so kind-hearted for so long that the idea of enforcing our laws have become controversial. A sensible immigration policy is not what the enemies of freedom want. The globalists, who hate America, have made it clear that illegal immigration is the way they'll do it. When the bad guys tell you what their evil plan is, you should probably pay attention. As senator, I will fight to restore sensible immigration policy so America stays the envy of the world for almost another 200 years. I'm glad he brought up globalist. When a Republican mentions that word, they usually are for real. Because the only ones I know that have said is like Josh Hawley, J.D. Vance, Donald Trump, at times Ron DeSantis. That's actually solid. Focus on the fact that people that hate America, they want mass immigration. Put 2 and 2 together. So I like that. Energy. If the government got out of their way, we wouldn't need to import oil from the Middle East. No American anywhere should accept the crippling of the domestic energy that we've seen since 2021. Certainly not in the name of historical environmentalism. Environmental stewardship is important, but destroying our way of life is not. I'm a firm believer that technological advances have benefited mankind and the environment in the past, and will continue to do so in the future. As your senator, I will fight for America's and Utah's energy independence. I like that. I like that he brought up, look, we want to have a clean environment. We want to control, the fact these polluters dump shit in the waters. But that doesn't mean, Joe Schmo down the street, he has to lose his right to have a car. He can't eat meat anymore. He has to eat only bugs in the name of CO2 emissions going down by 0.001%. I love this part of Stegg's policy. Say, hey, we want to protect the environment. That doesn't mean our way of life have to go down dramatically. Defense. After years of relative calm, the world has become very dangerous under the Biden administration. The Taliban controls Afghanistan. Russia's invaded its neighbor. China wants to become the world's superpower. Now is not the time for America to become weak or reckless. The priority of American defense must be defending America. Military force must only be used in the defense of our nation, her interests, and her allies. We cannot afford to maintain 750 military bases across 80 countries for free. Other nations must provide for their own defense. My 5 priorities are: build the strongest cybersecurity shield ever seen. Maintain air security that made us the world's top gun. Funny. Ensure the Navy keeps our international trade lanes secure. Keep woke ideology from destroying our military's resolve. That's actually a valid point. I don't like when candidates use woke, but it is a serious concern around military what's happening. And spend smarter than what we have been. America could stay the world's superpower, but not without real change. Wow. That's awesome. That is a real good defense platform. It's not the generic, I want a strong military. It's, look, we need a cybersecurity shield. We need make countries pay for their fair share. And so when we have 750 military bases, well, they shouldn't get them for free. And I like the part that he said, we should not be reckless with our military. Only use it when absolutely necessary. When we're under attack, our interests like Taiwan, not Ukraine, which, by the way, Taiwan is actually an interest to us. Ukraine really isn't. And our allies like, the United Kingdom, Italy, etc. That is great. That's what people want. They don't want us involved in some crap shit show in the Middle East because Iran may do something 50 years from now. It's like, okay, what happened? Okay, if Pakistan goes to war with Afghanistan, what? I hate to say it, we should be the brokers of peace, but we shouldn't get involved and send like hundreds of thousands of troops. So yeah, this was Stegg's platform, and I gotta say, some things here and there that are iffy, but this would be far better than Mitt Romney. Infinitely better. So as of now, I do support Stegg's for the United States Senate election in the state of Utah. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the Twitter accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Thank you so much. Godspeed to all of you.